I used to think wealthy, successful people just worked longer hours, or possessed some superhuman energy that I simply lacked. I forced myself to stay up until 2 or 3 in the morning, chugging cup after cup of coffee trying to keep up with them. But the only thing I got in return was mental burnout, a brain clouded in fog, and a bank account that didn't change a bit. Until I realized a harsh truth: our brains aren't designed to overwork late into the night. They're hardwired to win or fail in the very first hours of the day. The hours before 8 a.m. aren't just for getting ready for work. They are the real battlefield that dictates whether you silently build wealth, or keep programming your brain to fall behind. Today, I want to share 7 radically different morning habits that the world's top 1% silently practice before the rest of the world wakes up. These aren't cliché advice like wake up at 4 a.m. and run 6 miles. These are small, accessible systems that can rewire your entire mindset and productivity without relying on massive willpower or motivation. Habit 1. Delay cheap dopamine. Be honest with me. What's the very first thing you do when you open your eyes? Reach for your phone, check social media, read messages, or scroll through short videos. When you do that, you just dropped a cheap dopamine bomb on a brain that hasn't even woken up yet. This habit silently destroys your long-term ability to focus. Your brain's reward system gets immediately flooded with artificial stimuli. Neuroscience shows this single action instantly overloads your prefrontal cortex. You start your day in a reactive state, responding to the world instead of proactively creating it. The wealthy understand this mechanism inside out. They make a strict pact with themselves: no touching the phone for at least the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking up. They guard their dopamine like their most valuable asset. Instead of letting their brains rot on junk information first thing in the morning, they keep their minds still to embrace long-term thinking and protect their brains from depletion. You want to build wealth? Learn to master your own dopamine flow first. Habit 2. Cortisol and history's strange flight therapy. Let me tell you a strange detail from history. Benjamin Franklin, a founding father and one of America's first self-made millionaires, had a very peculiar morning habit. Every morning at 4 a.m., he would open his bedroom windows wide and sit naked reading or writing for about an hour. He called it his air bath. It sounds crazy, but through the lens of modern science, Franklin's habit was incredibly brilliant. Direct exposure to cool air and natural light right after waking up is the fastest way to sync your circadian rhythm. When natural sunlight hits your retina, it sends a direct signal to your brain's master clock, instantly shutting down melatonin production, the sleep hormone, and triggering natural cortisol, the hormone that makes you alert and energized in a healthy way. You don't need to stand naked in front of your window like Franklin. But instead of locking yourself in a dark room with artificial light from fluorescent bulbs or phone screens, step out onto the balcony or open a window to soak in natural light for at least 10 minutes. That's how you tell your brain, sleep time is over. It's time to focus. Habit 3. Thinking on paper, unlocking your brain from a deadlock. Many of us wake up with a chaotic mess of anxious thoughts floating around our heads. What do I need to do today? How am I going to pay this bill? What if that project fails? Your brain is a powerful processing machine, but it's a terrible storage unit. When you try to keep every thought in your head, you're draining your mental energy. That's why your brain works so much better when writing on paper. The top 1% don't start their day with scattered thinking. They sit down with a pen and a blank sheet of paper. They don't use complex note-taking apps on their phones, because phones bring distraction. They write down everything on their mind. It could be a to-do list, a vague fear, or simply a sudden business idea. This process is called a brain dump. When you transfer thoughts from abstract forms in your head into physical characters on paper, you free up a massive amount of prefrontal cortex bandwidth. You shift from a state of anxious overwhelm to systematically analyzing the situation, turning tangled thoughts into a clear roadmap. Remember, the person who writes their plan on paper controls the day. The person who keeps it in their head is controlled by the day. Habit 4. The morning information diet. Did you know that your brain in the first hour after waking up is as sensitive as a newborn baby? Whatever you feed it during this window shapes your entire lens for the day. Most people start their morning with a highly toxic information meal, which is the indirect cause of mental exhaustion and premature brain aging: sensational news, social media arguments, or dozens of frantic work emails. They fill their heads with anger, anxiety, and envy before they even have their first glass of water. The wealthy practice a strict information diet before 8 a.m. They don't read sensational news. They don't check work emails unless it's a pre-scheduled emergency. Instead, they only consume high-quality, mind-nourishing content, a chapter of philosophy, a scientific lecture, or simply absolute silence. Treat your brain as a sacred temple in the morning. Don't let anyone dump their trash inside your temple. When you strictly control what enters your mind before 8 a.m., you preserve a cool head and a grounded heart against any chaos the workday brings. Habit 5: 10 minutes of iron discipline, no motivation needed. One of the biggest lies in the self-help industry is that you need motivation to succeed. Find your passion, wait until you're ready. The truth is, motivation is an incredibly unreliable emotion. If you only work when you feel motivated, you'll stay stuck forever. The most successful people don't run on motivation. They run on systems and micro-rituals. They build iron discipline in just 10 minutes every morning. How does this ritual work? It's based on a simple scientific principle: overcoming initial friction. Your brain always wants to conserve energy, so it will find any excuse to procrastinate on hard tasks. But if you make a micro-commitment, like, I'll just meditate for 2 minutes, I'll just read 1 page of a book, or I'll just clean my desk for 5 minutes, your brain won't feel threatened. Once you finish that tiny task, your brain releases a small hit of positive dopamine, creating psychological momentum. You've conquered the biggest friction, just getting started. By repeating this 10-minute ritual every morning before 8 a.m., you train your brain to understand that you are someone who keeps promises to yourself, building consistency even when you feel like giving up the most. Habit 6: physical activation, waking up your body's energy. You can't have a sharp mind trapped inside a sleeping body. In the morning, after 7 to 8 hours of sleep, your body is mildly dehydrated and your joints are stiff. Many people try to fix this fatigue with a strong cup of coffee right away. But that's just fake alertness, leading to an afternoon energy crash. The 6th habit of the wealthy is naturally activating their physical body. This doesn't mean heavy lifting or intense workouts the second you wake up. It takes just 2 simple steps. 1. Drink a large glass of warm water right after waking up to rehydrate your internal organs and jumpstart digestion. 2. Do 5 to 10 minutes of light stretching or a few basic yoga poses. As you move, your heart rate gently rises, oxygen-rich blood gets pumped straight to your brain, activating the hippocampus, the area that controls memory and learning. This movement also releases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which stimulates the growth of new brain cells. Don't start your day like a mindless corpse. Wake up your physical energy before asking your brain to do extraordinary things. Habit 7: eating the biggest frog when your brain peaks. The final habit, and the one with the power to transform your finances the most: complete your most important task before 8 a.m. Mark Twain famously said, "If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning." The frog here represents your hardest task, the one that demands the most cognitive energy yet yields the highest return for your life. Why before 8 a.m.? According to neuroscience, your prefrontal cortex, the command center for sound decisions and logical thinking, reaches its peak energy state about 1 to 2 hours after you fully wake up. This is when your focus and willpower are at their absolute strongest, before they get worn down by dozens of trivial choices throughout the day, like what's for lunch, or how should I reply to this text? Most people waste this golden window on low-value tasks, meetings, non-urgent emails, or putting out other people's fires. The wealthy do the exact opposite. They isolate themselves before 8 a.m. to tackle their frog. That might mean writing a business plan, researching an investment, or learning a new skill. By the time the noisy world outside starts waking up at 8 a.m., they've already completed the most crucial task of the day. This early win creates a massive surge of positive momentum, allowing them to effortlessly dominate the rest of their day. My friend, the difference between the wealthy and everyone else isn't found in one massive leap, but in tiny habits executed automatically. It lies in the small systems they quietly repeat every day before the world even notices. These 7 habits don't require perfection on day 1. Start with just a single habit tomorrow. Delay touching your phone by an extra 15 minutes, or sit down and dump your thoughts onto a blank sheet of paper. When you master your morning, you master your entire life. If you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next journeys on simplifying life and rewiring your brain for sustainable wealth. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I'll see you in the next episode.